bloating is not random, right? It's your gut's way of saying that something is off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are definitely some root causes that I see in my practice because almost everyone has bloating, but we
Yes.
need to figure out like what is the cause. So in my experience, the root causes of bloating are mostly three. So there are three main root causes of bloating. The first one is constipation. It's the number
Okay.
one cause of bloating. And it's often misunderstood because sometimes when a person is constipated, they would just focus on the bloating part and they wouldn't even
Mm-hmm.
know that they're constipated. They are going to the bathroom every day, so they think that, okay, the stool is coming out, so I'm not constipated. So they will
Yep.
go to a physician only saying that they have bloating issues. Okay, so we are talking about bloating and they're giving everything for the bloating. But it's important to understand the concept of constipation. So, constipation is not only hot stool or infrequent bowel movements, but it's also how you feel after you have a bowel movement.
Okay.
So, you go to the bathroom and you had a bowel movement and you feel satisfied, that means it's a good bowel movement.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by satisfied? You shouldn't feel like something is still there, like you're still wanting to push. So that is not good. And a lot of time, if you're constipated, there would be overflow diarrhea. That means you will have a little bit of a liquid stool and you think you moved your bowel. But what's happening is there is hot stool and then things are overflowing. That means the liquid stool is kind of going around it. So that is
Yep.
overflow diarrhea. So if you have moderate to severe cases of constipation, then a lot of time just adding a fiber is not going to cut it. You have to get things moving, before we could do anything else. So, in fact, increasing fiber when you're constipated can make things worse. So, if you're constipated, there are usually I'm not going to go into the details of it, but if you're constipated, there are usually two main causes. First is motility disorder. That means your colon or your bowels are not having that peristalsis or it's not moving as they should. And the second reason is a pelvic outlet obstruction. In females, it is called pelvic dyssynergia, where there is almost dyssynergia in the way the rectal or the anal muscles are contracting in response to a bowel movement. So when we are moving our bowels, um, the muscles in the pelvic area should relax when the abdominal muscles are contracting. So the muscles in your belly are contracting to push the bowel out. So then the muscles around your anal area should relax. But what
Mm-hmm.
happens with dyssynergia, the opposite happens. So when you're contracting the abdominal muscles, the pelvic muscles are also getting contracted. So they are tested to differentiate like what kind of constipation you have and then treat that constipation. And that helps improve the bloating in many cases. Well, fiber is essential, but it works best once, the constipation issue is cleared. And in my experience, addressing the sluggish bar movement before you adjust your diet is
Mm-hmm.
important. A lot of people just start adding a lot of fiber when they are constipated, and that could make things worse actually. So
Okay.
that's the first thing. The first thing that I would say that we have to keep in mind. The second one is damage to your gut microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And your gut microbiome helps digest food. It regulates inflammation. It keeps everything running smoothly. And when the gut lining or the microbiome is damaged, then your digestion suffers. And it can lead to gas and bloating and discomfort. And a lot of time, people go on a low format diet or something like that to relieve, this thing quickly. But I don't think that is the cure, going on a low FODMAP diet, because the true healing really comes from rebuilding a resilient microbiome. Um, so how we can do that? So first thing is, like, as I'm talking in this program, which is about food that we're eating, like, because the more variety of the plant-based food that you eat, the more resilient and more variety of microbiome you have in your gut. So
Mm-hmm.
up things. Don't be stuck with broccoli every day, like
Right.
switch
Yeah.
it to cauliflower, or, different kind of different varieties of fruit, like even eggplant and squash, and as much as you can. So in the program, there is a list of all the like different vegetables that you can, experiment with that will help build your microbiome. Because I always say that our gut microbiome also have personalities like you and me, right? Like if you're only
Yeah.
eating broccoli, then the gut microbiome, which like broccoli, is the only one which is growing. The others are going to die off. So if you
Yes.
want variety in your gut, then you have to eat different kind of plant-based fruits, vegetables, fiber, and all of that. But a lot of time we don't realize that food is not the only factor. Food is
Mhm.
definitely important, but then there are other things that is important, right? So just a rule of thumb for me is to keep it simple, is three things is very important for a gut microbiome. Actually, four. Okay, let me take four of them. So first is, of course, diet and having a variety of different plant-based food in your meal. In a week, you should be having 30 different types of vegetables and herbs and fruit and plant-based products. Not to say that you cannot have animal product, you can have, but try to have more of plant and a variety of it. So
Mhm.
diet is first. Second is boundaries. And when I say boundaries, what does that mean? So when we don't have boundaries in our life, in terms of like people or in work, then that stresses us out, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of times stress comes from what's outside you, right? It's a response to
Yes.
how you're responding to what's happening around you. And a lot of times stress happens because we don't have clear boundaries. So
Mhm.
if there are people in your life who are toxic, then create a boundary. You don't have to deal with them. Be with people who bring joy to you and who have, with whom your nervous system calms down, not get
Yes.
agitated.
Yeah.
Also, work, right? Like, so when we are working, a lot of people don't have boundaries. Like they are working 24/7, right? But to
Yeah.
have a boundary that, hey, after 6 p.m. or after 5 p.m., I'm not going to think about work. And it's completely like, no matter how stressed out my work environment is, I'm not going to think about it after 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. And kind of just give yourself time and grace to just relax and calm down your nervous system. So, and then boundaries in terms of also your routine, right? Like if it's eating time, then I will eat regardless of who's
Mhm.
calling me, or I have work or anything like that. To creating that routine is also boundary. But I understand that it's easier said than done.
Yes.
A lot of time we want to do that, but the things that we cannot control will happen in life, right? That phone call will come at 8 p.m. in the evening when you're about to go to sleep, and then
Yes.
you're stressed out, and then you cannot sleep at night, right? When it's that's when that module in my program on the gut brain connection is so important, because it is your rescue therapy. um, the most important thing is vagus nerve stimulation and how you can stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. So I talk about things like diaphragmatic breathing and humming. But on top of that, you also have the two soundtracks that I created. So one is the gut-induced hypnotherapy, which is going to calm down the nervous system in the gut. It's just 10 minutes. And then the other one is the epigenetics one, which is also 10 minutes. So if you have time to kind of 10 minutes to kind of listen to the soundtrack, then that's going to be very relaxing. I highly recommend doing that. If not, then just working with the nervous system, the vagus nerve, the diaphragmatic breathing and humming, it's also going to kind of bring everything down and help. Okay,
Okay.
so that's there in the program. So I want you to do that. And then the third one is a good laugh. We underestimate it. Like the more you laugh, your gut microbiome loves it. The serotonin that is produced when you are having fun and enjoying and like really laughing, that helps as well. And the fourth thing is exercise. Your gut
Mhm.
microbiome loves it when you're sweating, when there is exercise. It really helps them. So when you are exercising, your gut microbiome produces something called short chain fatty acids. Now, when they produce that, it gets absorbed from the gut lining, it goes to your brain, and that is so helpful for your brain gut connection, and they simply love it. I was recently in a conference on longevity and anti-aging conference where they were talking about physical activity, but we think that working out and physical activity is like going to the gym, like 1 hour every day we have to go to the gym. That's what physical
Yeah.
activity. But it's not that. In fact, studies have shown that exercise can also help with Alzheimer's disease. A lot of people, it's a disease of the older, like when you start losing memory.
Mhm.
And they found out in this study that the one thing that really decreases the incidence of Alzheimer's disease is physical activity. And physical activity is not through going to the gym, but what they were saying is that if you are in the meeting all day long in front of your computer, after every hour, if you just like do squats, like just stand up and like do squats, right? Like this, squats,
Yep. Yeah.
for 1 minute, just 1 minute
Mhm.
every hour, that is good enough to produce that short chain fatty acid in your gut. And that short chain fatty acid goes to your brain, improves the brain gut connection, and decreases your risk for Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, this is such a simple thing. We think that, oh, investing in my health means I have to invest time and drive to this fancy gym and, pay this membership in the gym. You don't really have to. Like, you can do it every day. When you're working, like every hour, do the squats for 1 minute. And then you go back to working again. And you will see that it will give you so much energy. Like, you will have more presence of mind and focus for your work as well. So
Mhm.
physical activity is the fourth one. So yeah, taking care of your gut microbiome, extremely important. We all think about diet, but we don't think about boundaries and how our relationships and the physical activity and how we are dealing with stress. How is all of that helping the gut microbiome? Okay, so
Yes.
that's about the gut microbiome. The third thing is about bloating. The third root cause of bloating is food intolerances. And
Mhm.
when your gut cannot break down certain food items like dairy, so that's lactose intolerance, then you will have bloating and gas, and it also happens with gluten. But the good news is that the food intolerances are always never forever. Okay, your gut can adapt and it can rebuild tolerance over time, and especially when supported with the right fiber and with the right nourishment for your microbiome. So I'm not saying that you need to add back the food that don't serve you. Just know that healing your guts, like with healing, like as you're healing, your gut's resilience can improve. And that's why I always say that I'm not a big fan of removing food items from your diet. I like to
Mhm.
like bring more food items into your diet. So initially, it will be helpful to kind of remove those food items. So if you're having bloating with certain food items, I would probably remove them. But eventually, we have to bring them back slowly. Because what happens if you start removing the food items? It's because the problem with the food sensitivity is not really the food, but because the lining of your gut is inflamed, and that's why you're getting the sensitivity. So if you remove these food items and start eating the other ones, you will get sensitivity to this new food item. So
Yes. Yeah.
that's why it's important to first heal the lining of your gut, because that is the problem. And once you do that, then you will be able to tolerate more food items. And then that's how your bloating is going to improve.